It's a very exciting time, you see, but it's something that cannot really be denied unless you want to live in a cave and just not worry about anything and live off of air. But even then, even if you're in a cave and you're living off of air, that air still is dependent on the quality of what's happening elsewhere in the world. There's no real way to be physically incarnate at this moment and at the same time not really care. There's no way. I mean, if you do that, that's fine, but that is coming from a place of not really being ready to embrace a larger self, to embrace a larger collective as your own, to embrace civilization as your own. We have become disempowered, we have accepted that disempowerment, and out of that disempowerment, that mass disempowerment, we've all turned to our own little bubbles of reality, okay? And that's what occupies most of us. My daily struggles, my daily processes. I'll get there someday. This is what I want. Why isn't it happening yet? I'll watch another YouTube video. I'll make sure that by next year I have what I want. That's all perfectly fine. My whole point being is that personal empowerment is included in the expansion of your consciousness to embrace a larger entity as your own self. Does that make sense? I'll repeat that. Personal empowerment is included naturally, is naturally induced, is naturally a given. The things that you desire, the life that you desire is naturally given to you when you allow your consciousness to expand, to include a larger entity than your own as your own. And this is what's so crucial about being on this planet at this time. This is what's so crucial. And we have opportunities like never before with the internet, with the connectedness, with the rising need and desire and passion for spiritual awakening and personal empowerment and being of service to others. This really is a very exciting time. And I know that all philosophers of all times have said that, but this really is an exciting time. And so it's time for us all to take our personal empowerment to a next level and to blend it with, to whatever extent you are presently capable of, shepherding consciousness and including a larger body as your own self. And so that's what these meetings are about. And because of the timing of what's happening, and again, those that can tune into the probabilities will notice a lot of what's going on and can even predict some of the things that are about to happen, or at least have an abstract sense of it. And so get excited by these intuitions because they're for real. They're not just figments of your imagination. If you're connected, you are sensing that stuff is about to go down. Things are happening. Obviously, if you are sad, if you are most of the time sad or depressed or not really feeling very good within your own skin, if you don't feel good about yourself, at least half of the time, then there is some personal work to be done to increase that well-being, to sharpen your focus in a good way, to soften your judgment, but to sharpen your focus deliberately in ways that you wish to utilize your consciousness. Without personal empowerment, there's no real way to contribute. So yes, it is true, if you're not happy, you're not helping. Okay, if you cannot help anything or anyone or the collective from a state of unhappiness. From a state of unhappiness and being jaded and being skeptical, there's not much you can do because you're not harnessing the power that you have at your capacity. Were you to open up, were you to believe again, were you to have faith within yourself, to have faith in your higher self, to have faith in the orchestration of what's occurring on planet Earth as we speak, to have faith in the timing of the circumstances as they manifest themselves in your personal life. If you can go back to that state of faith and empowerment, then you're in a position to literally call upon the non-physical powers that are innate to each human being. You can call upon the powers of the universe in a very immediate, direct way. From changing the weather, if that makes sense, to simply letting freedom and abundance and creativity flow through your being so that you can be of support to your own life, your immediate family, and the family that is our civilization. So let's go back. Let's review the basics of personal empowerment, according to me. One thing to understand, sort of a disclaimer, is that these teachings that I teach about empowerment work so much better when you realize that you're not a physical body. That is a profound foundation, to realize that you are not the physical body. The physical body is like a finger is to the hand. It's like an extension, it's an expression of your personality. As your mind changes, as your vibration, your frequency, your state of being changes, so does your body. So does your mind. So does the actions that you take in this world. So does your feelings. Everything you see, everything you can perceive, sense, including the body, but including much more, including your circumstances, the opportunities that come your way, the people that you meet, the conversations that you have, the things that you create, every single thing that you can sense with your senses or your mind is like looking in a mirror. It's a reflection of your state of being. Okay, that's basically the number one rule of personal empowerment, is to understand that circumstances, and circumstances include the body. The body is a circumstance. Yes. To understand that circumstances reflect state of being. That circumstances are a mirror that you're looking into. Okay, so if the body feels a certain way, it's a reflection of how you've been thinking, how you've been feeling, what you are believing. If the body feels bad in a sense, then most of the time that's a reflection of you holding on to a belief system that no longer works for you. The body is the most immediate circumstance. It's telling you immediately. It's the first mirror you look at every time you wake up to your life, to your daily life. Immediately how the body responds, emotionally especially, shows you where your mind has been in the past, shows you where your thoughts have been in the past, shows you what your present belief system is that you are ready to let go of. If there is a contraction, it means there is a belief underneath that contraction that your higher self disagrees with. Emotional contraction is nothing other than higher self, your wiser part, disagreeing with what you are suggesting is true in your thinking, in your belief system. Does that make sense? When you suggest something is true, and you're suggesting something almost all the time actively, you're almost always suggesting that something is true. You almost always hold a view of yourself. You might not always be aware of it, but you're holding it vibrationally in the overall portion of your consciousness. Perhaps not the conscious mind, perhaps the subconscious/unconscious mind. Nevertheless, you are holding an assumption of who you are, what you are at this moment. How valued you are, how valuable you are, how worthy you are, how free you are, how capable you are, how loved you are, how appreciated you are, how a part and connected of creation you are. Or the opposite of these, how you're lacking these things. You're holding a vibration as we speak. You're holding an assumption of who you are. You have an idea about yourself. You must have an idea about yourself. Otherwise you wouldn't be here showing up in this body. That's part of what I was talking about the constraints, because I don't really have that many ideas about myself, and those that I do have are very malleable, they're very non-physical, they're very high vibration. So for me to be here without really having an idea of who I am here is what causes the sort of glitches in the matrix between my personality construct, my body being here, and my consciousness knowing what's true about itself. Because of that level of transparency, that level of emptiness of personal bias and ideas. Nevertheless, most of us have, including myself, but most of us have very personalized ideas about who we are. They're more rigid usually than they are in my case. Not saying this is necessarily true for all of you, and part of what we're moving into as a collective, but you at the cutting edge because you're integrating these types of instructions. I hope. I trust. I see. What you're working with is thinning out the rigidity with which you hold on to ideas about who you are, so that you can include and embrace more ideas of what you could be at any given moment. And so, depending on the situation, depending on your sensitivity to what the field in your present moment requires, or could benefit from most, you can slip into another jacket, slip into another suit, slip into another mask, without identifying with that mask while you're doing it. You can maintain awareness of the greater self, capital S, that spacious and free awareness which right now hears my voice without you even trying. Even if you're completely distracted and you have no idea what I'm talking about. Even if I start speaking Chinese and you can't speak Chinese or understand Chinese. There is an awareness, effortlessly, always, uninterruptedly present. That is registering everything in your life. That is the greater self, capital S. That is how to connect to the greater self. It is pure awareness. It is when all of thought disappears. And you notice, awareness itself notices awareness itself. Beingness itself notices beingness itself. The I exist, notices the I exists itself, purely without needing mind, without needing thought to have an idea about itself. Who are you with no idea about yourself for just 2 to 5 seconds? Peaceful in it. Who are you with all ideas about who you might be, who you are, future, past, given away? Give it back to source, give it back to life, give it back to God if you want to call it that. Disown all ideas about me. And without me, what is the I that remains? The I am, the I exist, the I awareness itself, the I presence itself.